Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
And welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody is doing well. Today I have returning guest, psychic trance channeler Gregory Passman as my guest, and Gregory is a regular on my show. He shows up like probably every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I guess, maybe a little more sometimes. And I love having Gregory on. He channels and he's amazing. And yeah, he's going to join me in just a couple minutes. So I just want to say to everybody, time is like flying or something, because I think last week is when I had my show, which I did. We were having hurricane. And at the time I was doing the show, I can't even keep up. So I just want to send everybody out there who is still recovering from both storms, Helene and Milton, blessings and light. And I hope that, you guys recover quickly. To my regulars, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my show, I'm an author, I'm a photographer, I'm an artist. I have a book. It's titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power. I talk all about manifesting in the book, so you can check that out. Every week I ask people to send me a manifesting postcard. So please, if you want to know how to do that, reach out to me. You can find out all my address and to send the postcard and all the information on postcardstotheuniverse.com. And just so you know, that every show that we record, we put up in the archives on both my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com, and on Om Times Radio. And I want to bring Gregory out right away because I want to talk to him. So I'm just going to tell you that Gregory is a psychic trance channel. He's been channeling he channels over 40 light beings, the archangels, Sananda, who is going to join us today. And Sananda wants to talk about the queen, king, and priest initiations and how the evolution of the human race is affecting the planet's progress through the divine blueprint. So you can find out more about Gregory if you go to his website, www.gregorypassman.com. Hi, Gregory. Thanks so much for being here.
It's an honor and a pleasure, as always.
Yeah, so tell everybody, you went through Helene, because Gregory's in North Carolina and I'm in Florida. So we both our states got hit back to back. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. I was up in Canada when this all took place, so I was spared. My neighbors and friends, not so much. We all lost power quite quickly, and for many of us, the power's back on. But minimal damage to my property, and volunteers came and helped me and corrected my driveway. So compared to a lot of other people, I was incredibly fortunate, and I'm very grateful to everybody who has contributed and sent donations. And I mean, the outpouring of compassion has just been incredible here in the mountains. So yes, a lot of people had major damage to their property, but I was spared. So I'm very grateful, and just hopeful that the people that have been displaced can find a place soon. But lots of bridges washed out and tremendous number of trees down, but everybody has really rallied together. And all I'll say is we're mountain people, and you can't keep us down.
Well, I'm so glad that you did well, and I know a lot of people haven't. I know a lot of lives were lost. I know people who have lost everything. It's terrible. Their storms are no joke. But I have to say that when we knew Milton was coming, there was such an outpouring of people sending light and love. The hurricane, being downgraded, and it was when it hit land. It really was. So there's something to say about us collectively coming together and
Yes,
putting love and light into things, and protection. I mean, consciousness, we know, right? We know that consciousness
absolutely.
has energy and power, and of course you know this better than anybody. You have other consciousness coming through you, right? Which
Yes,
is really
yes.
cool. Which is really cool. So today, Sananda is going to come through. Share with us who Sananda is for those who are like, who are they talking about?
Sananda, or Lord Sananda, as some call him, he doesn't care about the title. He just goes by Sananda when he comes through me. And I say he, it's not a he, it's they. But anyway, oversoul of the Christ energy. And as I understand it, walked the earth many times, over 88 lifetimes, studying theosophy, philosophy, religions, and came to a number of geographical locations on the planet, was definitely a man in some of those lifetimes and most likely a woman in others. Doesn't really talk much about those experiences. I think that's pretty much behind the energy. So it's, but very, very, very focused on unconditional, unlimited love. That seems to be the primary theme all the time, and will probably be a big part of the theme today. And so that's about what I know.
So interesting. I'm excited. Yeah. So Sananda wanted to talk about, which I'm interested. What he? I'm just going to use he because it just makes my life
Yes,
easier.
sure,
He.
sure.
What he means about queen, king, and priest initiations, and the evolution of the human race, which is definitely affecting the planet's progress. I mean, we're seeing it in real time. So, um, before we start, did you go to Europe over the summer? Did you have
I did.
something out there? Okay, how was that experience? Because that you channeled aliens, right? Can you share a little bit about that?
In some parts of it, I did. It was less than I anticipated, but yeah, I went to Denmark, and uh, Catherine went with me, and we were there together, and it was a fantastic experience. It was just the people there are so friendly and compassionate, and just treat me so well, and it was really great. Cooler than I expected. Only swam in the sea once because of the cooler weather, but other than that, it was just it was a really phenomenal trip, and the workshop was great. I did several, and one in particular that was all day, and so yeah, it was a great trip, and I don't know how much I don't know what else to say. It was just a phenomenal trip. We had some issues getting there in terms of weather, and flying these days seems to be a challenge on occasion. But
Yeah.
other than that, everything was just really, really positive. So
Yeah, but you happen to channel more than the masters or the archangels when you're there. It seems to be the Palladians or Syrians,
yes,
Venusians, right? When you do Denmark,
yes,
yeah. And
yes.
how come? How come that is over there?
Well, I've been
Curious.
going there for 20 years, and many of the people that are in the groups over there have been coming to see me for a long period of time. They've done a tremendous amount of work on themselves. And so my sense of it is that when you're in a group, when I'm in a group, the consciousness of the group really sets the stage for the information that comes through. So when there's a group of concentrated people, and I just call them the cream of the crop because they've been working on themselves for so long, they tend to attract some pretty advanced information. And so I think that's the primary reason that the extraterrestrials come through. I see them as what they call the higher intelligence, and they don't say that from an egotistical place. They talk about the ancients and their what would we would call their guides and teachers, who I've had some brief encounters with, and they are amazing beings. I mean, they're just way beyond anything I could imagine. So in a couple of private sessions, the people have been introduced to them, and it's just they're in a kind of golden a golden globe, not global, a globe, and that's where they exist, and it's pretty phenomenal. It's amazing.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Really does. All right, so Gregory moves aside and Sananda is going to come through, and we're just going to let him share with us what he needs to share. And Sananda realizes we do take a commercial break, right? And he's okay with that. He's okay with that.
A word from our sponsor.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
Okay. Is there
All right.
anything else you want to share, Gregory, before
Not a
you...
thing. Not a thing.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
We are the one called Sananda, and we are honored to merge our energy with yours. We are pleased to have the opportunity to speak with all of those who desire to hear us. How may we assist you on this day?
Thank you, Sananda, for joining me today, and everybody who's listening is excited to hear from you. Can you share with us what message you wanted to let us know, what you wanted to talk about today with me?
We are going to delay our previous comments for a few moments so that we can explain some of the recent events on your planet. The planet is, of course, purging itself, and in the process, it is once again purging those who are ready to move on. There have been a number of unexpected transitions, and they are, in fact, perfect, though they seem imperfect to those who miss them. We are talking, of course, about people who have made their transitions unexpectedly. There is nothing unexpected about it from our perspective. However, it often seems catastrophic and tragic. It is an opportunity for humanity to come together and help their brothers and sisters. It is an opportunity to bring out unconditional, unlimited love. That can come from very far away, or it can be mobilized very close. It is an opportunity for humanity to restore its faith in one another. And that is precisely what happens when a tremendous outpouring of love takes place. And that is what takes place in any of these natural disasters or tragedies. Your planet is undergoing a tremendous amount of duality at this point in time. There is great polarity, and that need not be repeated, for indeed it is quite obvious. All one needs to do is look in your media and see the amount of what we shall call conflict taking place. There would be none of that conflict if, in fact, each and every entity or individual were able to express the love that they have originated in or come from. However, identities and structures and various other kinds of belief systems tend to take place in the mind. And when the mind takes over the heart, thought takes over love. The heart is steeped in love and compassion, and the outpouring of love that takes place is in fact the original nature of humanity. When that is overridden by thought and numerous other priorities, then these kinds of purges become necessary, and the planet undergoes all of the weather changes that have taken place. The man was surprised that today, this early snow was falling in the morning at his home. He believes that is probably about the earliest he has ever seen it. It is not long-lasting. However, it was something of a surprise. And across the planet, you are seeing these anomalies in weather. It is important to understand that it is, again, a reaction, if you will, to the consciousness that is taking place on the planet. That is not meant to be seen as any kind of indication that humanity is going backward in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, you are coming closer and closer and closer to a sense of awareness that will create the kind of divine blueprint that others have spoken of. That blueprint is, of course, the divine plan the Creator has in mind. It is the opportunity for Earth to become the garden that it is meant to be. That garden, of course, is being shaped and changed and altered by many of these events. That does not preclude its becoming a garden in any way, shape, or form.
Wow, thank you for that. Can you share with us, many people, and you talked about the polarities that are happening right now, which we can obviously see, but many people say and believe that these weather systems that we're having are man-made. Can you share with us more about that?
We will say that from the perspective of consciousness, yes, they are man-made. From the perspective of technology and varying other conspiracy aspects, we must withhold any opinion one way or the other. It is important that we not interfere too much with what we will call your particular development. The extraterrestrials have the same attitude. It is to understand that their technology does in fact allow for the kind of manipulation that you might imagine is taking place at the hands of other human beings. But it is, from our perspective, consciousness that is creating these aspects. And that consciousness is a part of the conflict that you are seeing, not only in terms of race, but in terms of philosophy, in terms of belief systems, and in terms of religions. And because these aspects are so, shall we say, non-forgiving, it creates an opportunity for these weather anomalies to occur. It is appropriate to say that a large part of it is a reaction of the earth itself in terms of being unable to exist in a peaceful state when so many on it are existing in such an conflicted state. We will stick with the word conflicted.
So, to clarify, you mean our human consciousness as a collective is influencing what's happening on the earth and her purging, just so that I understand clearly.
You made a point of speaking about prayer and a point of speaking about the delivery of light. And when the last storm, the one called Milton, arrived at land, it was in fact lowered in intensity by the prayers of so many. You are also aware of groups that go into conflicted areas and meditate and pray. These groups have quite an influence over the outcome of such situations. And so, consciousness can be used in both ways. It can be used for destruction, and it can be used for reconciliation. And so, when love is applied to these situations, they absolutely become less and less intense. It is remembering to close one's eyes and to go inside and to fill one's heart with love in such a manner that everything shifts. And humanity can, in fact, shift all of this reality if, as a collective, they would come together and allow the heart response to take place rather than the mind response.
That's wonderful. So how do we do this collectively? Like, for those of us that are already doing it, how do we assist other people who are maybe at a low vibration, are spreading hate, are spreading lies, are in fear? How do we influence? How do we help?
You simply continue to expand the love that you send out, and you allow yourselves to stay out of judgment of these beings. You mentioned fear and hate. Those are aspects of the mind. They are certainly not aspects of the heart. The heart feels love. The heart feels an ability to identify. And the heart puts out what one might call a very powerful natural intention of lack of conflict, ease and resolution of conflict. And so, when one can remain in one's heart and spread that kind of energy, it is like pouring water on a fire rather than pouring gasoline on it. It tends to bring aspects of expansion and contraction, and that is the way of things. That is the natural way of things. There are periods of expansion and there are periods of contraction. Periods of hurricanes and typhoons and cyclones and things of that nature tend to look like they are contraction, but in fact, they are an opportunity for humanity to expand its love and its compassion for one another. And as those processes take place, as the outcome of those processes take place, everything begins to shift. And that is a very powerful lesson, one that is delivered by the earth and one that is delivered during the phase of earthquakes and hurricanes and tsunamis and things of that nature. They are extremely powerful forces of nature. However, they can in fact be softened by the application of love, by prayer, and by meditation.
Yeah, I feel like and I know I'm not the only one, that these lessons, that you use the word lessons, are coming at us so fast that it's hard to keep up. And many people feel ungrounded. So how do we cope with our own feelings, even the ones in the light?
You must stay within the present moment. You must look around and see the reality and then respond to it. You cannot be glued to the past and you cannot be glued to the future. You respond with the right response. You do the right thing, so to speak. And you always know from deep within you what that is. It may not be the easiest thing to do, and certainly it may not be the thing you want to do. However, it is important that you always apply what is right in the situation and do what is right. And when you do that, of course, it comes back to you 100-fold. So, when you help those that you judge, when you reach out and assist everyone, no matter their belief system, no matter the color of their skin, no matter their religion, you simply are doing the right thing. You are responding in love. And that is what the Queen Priestess king priest energy is about. And it is an initiation where outer circumstances, the drama, if you will, allows for that kind of activity to take place. And when it does, one is able to manifest much more quickly. One is able to create whatever is needed for a particular situation. This is a kind of miracle in a way. In other words, what one needs in order to manifest whatever one chooses is always literally in their pocket. It's just a matter of creativity. It's a matter of applying compassion and love to the situation, rather than allowing hate and judgment to be the primary forces at hand. When that love is applied, everything shifts and changes. It can change the energy of anything very, very quickly.
That is such a beautiful response, and I want to talk more about the king, queen, and priest initiation. So I want to take my break here, and then we'll come back in a couple of minutes and we'll talk more about that. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back, and if you're just joining me, I have Reverend Gregory Possiman on my show, and he is channeling Sananda, and Sananda is still with us, I believe. Sananda, are you still with us?
We are.
Wonderful. Okay, so we were talking about the queen, king, and priest initiations, and can you just elaborate on what you mean by that for us humans? Is it that we are trying to become more? And I just want to be clear.
The state of being is always a state of becoming. It is one way to see it that you would consider yourself in process. You are never complete. You are never just beginning. You are always in a process of becoming. What you are becoming, of course, may be seen in the mind with an image. And if you imagine the archetype aspect of the queen and the king, and then you imagine the archetype of the priestess and the priest, you begin to see that when there is a being with great power, as can be imagined of a queen and a king, and then there is the ability and desire to serve, as there would be with a priestess and a priest. You merge those two together, and you have an incredibly powerful being whose primary desire is to serve. And as that idea begins to generate and formulate more powerfully in the heart and the mind consistently of the individual who is considering this process, you begin to see that there is a very, very powerful potential for this being to manifest whatever it desires. Assuming its desire is benevolent, which any priest or priestess would only desire, then you begin to see that by more and more entities upon the planet, human beings, by more and more of them moving in that direction, which of course is in the heart center and is regulated and relegated by love, unconditional, unlimited love. This creates a force, a kind of force. And that force in the universe is a force for benevolent outcomes. It is a force for compassion. It is a force for love. It is not a warring force. It is not a force that desires anything malevolent. It is a force that desires only a kind of cooperation, a kind of desire for people to accept one another, an opportunity for people to work together toward common objectives and common goals.
I love that. And so my follow-up question is, are there evil people that are walking around our planet right now? Are they really evil, or are they just in their own evolution, not as far?
The use of the word evil creates a kind of perception, and that perception is based upon judgment.
Yes.
No, from our perspective, they are not evil. From our perspective, perhaps they want more power. Perhaps they want power over others. Perhaps they want more items, whether it's currency or what do you call them, possessions, material things. However, in the heart, there is the knowingness that the aspect of the physical is simply an illusion, and that the universe and the Creator are incredible sources of prosperity. And when you go one step further, recognizing that one doesn't own anything, everything is owned, if you will, by the universe. One can become a custodian, a guardian of it for a period of time. However, that period of time is predetermined in a way by how long each and every individual human being spends upon the planet. At some point, your soul and your physical body will separate. At that point in time, of course, you call it death, we call it transition. When that occurs, there is no need for any of these physical illusions any longer. and there is no point in attempting to take them with you because you cannot. They don't fit, and there's no use for them anyway. When you return to light, as you do when you make your transition, everything you need is on the other side. There's nothing of any physical nature over there that anyone need lay claim to or possess, so to speak. So it's all temporary, and perhaps that is the way to see it. In the meantime, one can enjoy what one has, one can appreciate it, one can utilize it, and one can share it. Or one can cleave to it, so to speak, and be very selfish and not share it. That's a choice. And almost everything on your planet is created by choice.
Yes. So, why does it feel like sometimes things are getting worse? And are we, as a collective, evolving and growing as a consciousness?
The percentage of you who are spiritually aware, conscious, awakened, whatever word you want to use, the number of you is relatively small. We do not say that from a perspective of, what would you call it, negativity. We do not mean to be in any way, shape, or form seeming to agree that things are getting worse. They are not getting worse. They only look that way because they are accentuated. And when you look at the aspect of how much compassion is delivered in the world, it is overwhelming. It is phenomenal. It is all about, we believe you call it, paying it forward. And so, every time someone makes some sort of donation or contribution to whatever it might be, that is an act of compassion. Those acts of compassion do not always receive the kind of notoriety that an act of destruction brings. And so, when someone sends a bomb across the lines of some country, and when it creates a massive number of deaths, especially amongst those who are so-called innocents, that is newsworthy, if you will. But when someone donates $100,000 to any kind of a relief effort, they are oftentimes passed by. That is not considered something that is newsworthy, if you will. And there is, in the mind, a kind of desire for what you might call the more negative aspects. That's unexplainable or inexplainable to us, but it does take place amongst human beings. We believe there is a part of the brain that seeks out that kind of material, or what would you call it, publicity perhaps. So, when the emphasis is placed upon what you call things that seem evil, it does seem like a proliferation of a great number of these kinds of acts or events. And yet the truth of the matter is, collectively, if you could see how much good is going on in the world consistently over and over again, you would be quite amazed and shocked.
That makes me happy to hear, and I want to know how we can highlight those good things and stop focusing on those loud negative things. What can we do individually?
Well, practically speaking, you can decrease the amount of media that you listen to. That is one way to do it. You can select only those channels of good news, if you will. And then, of course, you will be How is it said you will be judged as being one who sticks their head in the sand like the ostrich? However, you will notice immediately your outlook becomes much more positive, and you may have curiosity, which you allow yourself to look into the media to satiate. But if you control that and keep it to a bare minimum, and you certainly have enough devices created now with your technology to see anything you want, anytime you want. So it is, again, a matter of choice. It's a matter of choosing that which seems the most positive, that which brings about the most positive outcome. That can be meditation, it can be yoga, it can be Tai Chi, it can be Qigong. Any practice where you are manipulating positive energy for your own good is definitely something that is well worth your time and effort. You can be the best neighbor possible. You can be the most compassionate human being that you can possibly be. All of those things are aspects that bring forth tremendous amounts of good in your life. They feel good, they are good, and they work. That is the key, perhaps. They work. As that spreads, as that becomes more prolific, as that becomes more the example, and people watch it and see the beauty of it, they will naturally go down that path themselves. And as they do so, they forgive themselves and they forgive others. They become more free and more clear within their being. And then they no longer have to manipulate their time, so to speak, by whatever means or method they might use as far as some sort of entertainment or some sort of aspect that might take their attention away from the media. And that can be anything. Positive, wondrous acts are always appreciated. And it's just a matter of creativity to figure out what that might be. The man through whom we speak does not have a dog, but he carries dog treats in both of his vehicles. And when he sees a dog, he always asks the owner if he can give the dog a treat or if the owner would like to give it a treat. It's just a way of being compassionate. It's just a way of allowing every day to be an opportunity to be in service.
I love that Gregory does that. I want to talk a little bit about your thoughts or what's going on in the Middle East. Um, it's getting more dangerous. More countries are getting involved about a war going on over there. What do you see about that?
That is an area where for centuries there has been a tremendous amount of hatred. And it is ironic from our perspective that in a place where so much hatred has taken place, there is so much history. History of what could have been the birthplace of a tremendous amount of love and understanding. But instead, humanity has decided to use their religious beliefs in order to justify their hatred. There is never and never has been any part of God, Creator, whatever word you wish to use, the great mystery, the great spirit, call it whatever you like. There has never been a mandate that said, go forth and destroy your fellow human being. That is completely against the origin of love. And the Creator is steeped in absolute love. And so it is humanity's mandate that that be taking place, not the Creator's. And yet so many decide that it is either Allah or God or Yeshua or whomever, whatever name you wish to give it, who is in fact masterminding all of this destruction. And unless and until there is a desire to completely and totally move away from that, there will still be this constant destruction and possessive aspect or attitude. We have a right to live here, not you. You have no right to live here because your religion doesn't work. Your religion is not ours, and therefore it's wrong. It is that aspect of right and wrong, instead of the aspect of love, that creates all of this warfare. And any warfare that takes place on the planet is based upon the premise of right and wrong. It is not based upon love or fear. It generates fear, and if it were generating love, it would be creating something entirely different. It could be if those who were in charge decided that was more important than destruction and possession.
Yes. Will the world be pulled in, and will there be a world war because of this?
You see countries on your planet that are completely neutral and remain that way. Oftentimes, they too are the victims, so to speak, of those who would possess them. But the truth of the matter is, they are literally angelic in nature. What do we mean by that? They decide to withdraw. They decide not to get embroiled in a battle that is based upon destruction and murder and death. And as they do so, they are creating a model for all of the other countries, if you will, all of the other people on the planet, a model that is based upon love, not based upon hatred or destruction or possessiveness. And so, as they continue to, shall we say, stand in that position, they will in fact generate more and more interest in their particular philosophy. And that philosophy, of course, is a philosophy of love. As they allow that to happen, conscious awareness will continue to grow. Imagine, if you can, a situation where everyone who is engaged in battle literally puts their weapons down at the same moment, in the same second, and decides that these acts of destruction are no longer a part of their desire. When that level of consciousness is reached, and everyone decides to go back to their home and be with their loved ones, instead of fighting and killing and shooting at each other, whatever manner they're doing it, there will no longer be any energy behind that. There will be tons of energy behind going back and reestablishing a life that is based upon love and not destruction or hatred or some cause that isn't even one's own cause.
Is that, as my human mind wants to know, when will that be? Like, I want it to happen tomorrow.
It will only happen tomorrow if the majority of humanity decides it is time for it to happen. And if it chooses otherwise, then it will not happen tomorrow. It is humanity's choice. It is humanity's absolute choice as to when peace on your planet can in fact take place. It is our hope, of course, that it will happen in this second, in this moment. And it can. It is possible. It's just a matter of how many people choose that particular outcome versus some other outcome.
Yes. Are we getting help from the angelic realm or the alien realm to help us evolve and grow as a species and as human consciousness?
always. The angelic realm has always been an outpouring of compassion and love in many ways. Many times it is done on an individual level, and many times it is done in the collective. And so, yes, the answer is an unequivocal yes. Absolutely. They are assisting.
Wonderful. So, for those listening who want to help with the collective over in the Middle East, should we imagine them putting down their weapons? Should we imagine peace? Should we send love? What should we be doing? Or all of the above?
All of the above are appropriate, indeed. It is important to send prayers of peace everywhere on the planet, anywhere where there is conflict, where there is war. See the hearts of these leaders turning to compassion instead of destruction. See them recognizing that their movements toward destruction are absolutely against the divine and the sacred path of humanity. That is the key. And do not for a moment doubt that your desires, your wishes, and your action are ever ignored, because they are not.
Okay, so is there anything else that you want to share with us, or any message you want us to know before you give Gregory his body back? We have about 5 minutes left.
We believe it is most important that you find your own heart center, and that you allow love in your heart to dictate all of your actions, to make your choices for you. And if you are doing that, you will find that love comes back to you 100-fold, if not 1,000-fold. And the overwhelming amount of love that you experience in your life will make just about any burden very, very easy to bear. That is what we would say.
Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you for your wisdom.
You are most welcome. We shall give the man his body back. We are the one called Sananda, and we are grateful, ever grateful. I'm back.
How do you feel? You must be
And I
tired.
feel great. I may sound tired, but I'm not tired. I feel really good. I feel very peaceful. I feel very fulfilled.
Oh, that's good. Yes. I wanted Sananda to be like, okay, next week the war is going to stop in the Middle East. There's not going to be any more hurricanes, or that they come. Just be little tropical storms. You can handle that. Like, like very mild little earthquakes, no forest fires. But of course, it's up to us, because we collectively co-create on this planet.
That we do. That we do.
Oh my God. I know. How do you keep yourself grounded, Gregory, with all the craziness going on, and just in general? What do you do?
One thing I do is I have a list in my head of about 8 or 10 things that I really love doing. And when I'm conscious enough to go to my list, I do it. I do it. I play billiards every Friday with a wonderful group of friends, male friends. Yeah, fun. I have fun. And, I love to read. There's certain authors that I really love to read. And some of it's fiction. Some of it's just a lot of fun. And then I have a list of people that I call when I get into that very negative place. I try not to be negative, but I call them and I just say, hey, can we chat for a few minutes? And I reach out and I try to connect, because the other side of me, the sort of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the Mr. Hyde side of me, shrinks and doesn't connect and doesn't reach out. And so it kind of a hermit sort of aspect. And that isolation can be very deadly for me. It can be very unpleasant and it gets worse and worse. So I try to avoid that as best I can. And a lot of times I want to be a hermit and I don't want to go anywhere. And I make myself get out. I make myself go out and walk. I make myself go to the gym. I swim. I love to swim laps. That's one of the things on my list. So the exercise and the swimming and, just going to the recreation center. We have this big, beautiful recreation center, and I teach swimming there. And I love being with kids. Teaching swimming is a joyous thing, and I get more joy out of it than the kids do. But those are the kinds of things that I do. And they're just day-to-day things, there's nothing terribly spiritual about them. They're just things that help me maintain that positive attitude that I need to maintain.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying. And sometimes we do have to force ourselves because we can easily go down the rabbit hole, right? And we don't want to do that.
It's so easy.
But, well, Gregory, as always, I love having you. Thank you so much. And everybody, just if you want to hear more of his channeled messages, go to gregorypossman.com and you can hear his monthly messages. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave, and wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace. I don't know if that was your phone. It wasn't mine.
It was mine.
Bye.
It was my
All
phone.
right. Bye, everybody. See you next week.